Some of y'all might call BS on this one, but I assure you that it is, in fact, a true story. Anybody that knows me will attest to the fact that I have a wall full of backpacks in my man cave. 2016, I decided I needed another one, and I was looking at some high-end packs. I was looking at 3 brands, and I settled on one. That pack worked out well for a few years. Actually, about a year and a half. It wasn't until my buddy Jake killed a cow elk off the end of a ridge that I really learned what that pack was about. Now, that shouldn't have been a tough pack out, but that backpack crushed me. It really, really did not shine with that kind of weight in it. Now, in full disclosure, that winter is when I met Aaron. Aaron got me pointed in the direction of Kifaru. I paid full price for my frame and bag, and that winter and into the spring, I did a lot of training hikes in preparation for an 8-day trip in the Frank Church. That trip came and went, and that pack performed flawlessly. That fall, between myself and friends, I ended up packing out 5 animals. Now I feel like I have enough time under that frame to make a pretty good assessment. That backpack's going to be heavier than any pack that you have. But when you need it, it's not going to let you down. I've got 2 bags now. I've got the 44 mag and the striker. I used the heck out of that striker. It's my everyday pack. And when I'm going for elk or overnight trips, I'm using the 44 mag. If you're in the market for a pack, I would strongly urge you to look at Kifaru, get a hold of Aaron. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Heck, the versatility of that striker pack alone will impress the snot out of you. Anyways, give it a look. Seriously, works for me. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Monday, and welcome to this week's episode of the Stickbow Chronicles, brought to you by the Blackwidow Bows. Yeah, hey, this week, I don't want to say my homies, because I never really met them, but I have spent some great years when I lived down in Salmon. I had some really, really good experiences. I really enjoyed living down there. And so this couple, husband and wife, are from the salmon country, and I kind of stumbled upon them through social media, and we chatted a bit. We kind of know the same country, we know some of the same people, and turns out one of them is a brand new stickbow hunter. The other one's been shooting a stickbow for a lot of years. Sounds like a recipe for a podcast right there. But I'll tell you what was kind of cool, and this climate, quote unquote climate, this world we live in today, it really struck me about their businesses. And don't bail on me. It's all about bow hunting, but we talk a little bit about their names is Benji and Autumn Fahnholz, and Benji is a taxidermist, and Autumn does silversmithing. So I don't know, small businesses, this climate, I just found that super interesting. So anyways, we talk about it on the podcast, and Benji growing up in Salmon, and all the hunting to be had down there. So, yep, had fun talking to him. Had a lot of fun talking to him, actually. It's a good episode. Yeah. Tomorrow, so this is dropping Sunday at 4 Mountain Time, and I think Monday we're going to do a Facebook Live, so you'll be listening to this and say, oh, that's tonight. I think Monday night we're going to do a Facebook Live and whittle the iHunt Close Tradkill 2020 entries down to 8. We're going to do it live on there, and we're just going to do a random drawing. So if you're not doing anything, jump on Facebook Live. Probably going to do it about, I'm going to guess, yeah, I don't know. Just look out for it. Look out for it. Maybe like 6 p.m. Mountain Time, something like that. 6 p.m. Pacific Time, something like that. Anyways, going to whittle them down, get them on the Stickbow Chronicles website so you all can go and vote on them. Yep. Anyways, that's all I got. Big thanks to the sponsors. It's coming on Christmas. Remember all of the small businesses in the archery community. You know, we have a handful here that are sponsors, and of course we urge you to support them, but you know, support a small business in the archery community if you can. And if you need ideas for Blake and I for Christmas, you know, what you want to get us, you could always call Terry and Barb over at the Footed Shaft, or Aaron over at Kifaru International, Drew over at Selway Archery, or Toby, Roger, or any of those guys over at Blackwidow Bows. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you listening, hanging out with us, and thank you to the sponsors. So that's it. That's all I got. Enjoy this episode. Keep after it. Roger out. You guys ready to roll?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's staying in.
Are you recording?
Oh, yeah. I've got Benji and Autumn Fahnholz. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Yeah. You kind of, I find it interesting. It's cool. You guys are from Salmon. I spent some really cool years down there. Never ran into you guys, but yeah, Benji, you're a taxidermist, right?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about, because you're not like an average taxidermist.
Yeah, I guess not anymore after this last year. So, but yeah, we have a family business here in Carmen, which is just 4 miles north of Salmon, and it's been in the family for 35 years. My dad's been running it. My brother and I both work there.
And what happened last year that you're not an average taxidermist anymore?
Well, my whole life there's this world taxidermy show that they have, and it's kind of the pinnacle of any taxidermy career. And we went there last year for the first time, and we happened to come home with a world title that I got. So best in the world, I guess you can say.
What mount was it?
It was a pronghorn antelope pedestal is what I had taken. My brother brought a mountain lion that his wife had shot, full body mount, and he took second. So he got a silver medal.
So is it in the same category?
No, there's different categories. Like the world title division, you have, they break it up. I think there's maybe 14 or 16 different world titles you can get, ranging from fish to birds and life size and large mammals, all that stuff. So we were in 2 separate categories.
Yeah. You know, I think I was telling you earlier, I've been around some taxidermy work, and for me, and I got to imagine that I'm not, it's not out of the ordinary, but unless the eyes are crooked or one ear's laying down, how are they looking that deep into it? I mean, what do you judged on?
It goes into, complete like anatomical correctness. And that's, if you open the mouth up, we're talking all the way from the tongue to the tonsils, almost like the teeth, inner nose detail, eye detail, and all that. That's got to be correct and spot on. And the judges, it's a panel of judges, so they have all the reference in the world and time to look it over. So that has to be spot on. And then it goes more into like the artistic flair, and you got to have the mechanics right. And then you got to have something that stands out, that catches people's eyes and tells a story. And it's artwork is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely. So you do it. I found, like, you know, when I was around Dan, my wife used to paint bears and stuff for Dan. That whole painting portion of it, to me, it just blew me away, because that is truly artistic.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The mountain lion that my brother took is an open mouth cat. And I don't know the hours that he has in just to that mouth, the tongue, just painting the tongue, the mounting it, painting it. Yeah. And he actually cast the whole, well, when you're going for a world title division, you can't use any commercially bought parts. It has to be all made by the competitor. So he cast that mouth cup with silicones and stuff, the whole cat's mouth, teeth, everything, and put it into that cat mount. So it was all plastic recreated. He actually used he actually mounted a cat tongue because it's hard to get the definition of how cats have a very coarse tongue. They can lick the meat off the bone. So he actually mounted an actual cat tongue for the cat's tongue in that mount.
So what did he skin a tongue and then make a form? Holy smokes.
5 or 6 of them until he got one right.
That's wow.
So we have access to a lot of mountain lion parts, which is good because he had a lot of different mouths to cast and practicing and looking at tongues and stuff. So,
so what's that done to your business now that you guys are world champions?
Well, it hasn't helped our situation as being too far behind and too busy, but it's definitely nice to have. And people, I think, like it, that they can say, hey, my taxidermist is best in the world, or gives them confidence in you. And
yes. So I imagine your clientele is no longer just in the area then.
No, and it wasn't before we even went to the show. Yeah. It's something we've always wanted to do. And we didn't go to it needing to try and, from a business standpoint, which it will be nice to always have that. But it was just, we've competed growing up, my brother, my dad, and I, even since we were little and young, at state shows and all that. But
where was the event held?
It was in Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we drove back there. It used to be, how they used to do it is it would be every other year in Europe and then in the United States. But a few years ago, they quit doing it in Europe. There just wasn't quite it wasn't large enough shows over there, the attendance and that. So they just started having it here in the U.S. every other year. So it's every 2 years.
Yeah, and you shoot a Black Widow. Did you guys stop at the Black Widow shop on your way through?
No, we didn't. We should have. We'd mentioned it when we drive through it by there. But.
Yeah. So, Autumn, what do you do? What's your business?
I'm a silversmith.
Yeah. How long you been doing that?
I think I got started around 6 years ago. I started with a guy here in Salmon who builds bits and spurs. And so I started engraving. And I didn't really like the style of engraving. I thought it was more Western and older looking, so I kind of went my own way, and I'm self-taught since then, and my style is a lot different from what I first learned. Everything I do is hand sawed, hand fabricated, everything's done by hand. So.
Well, it's funny, your handle on Instagram, I was telling you, you started following the Stickbow Chronicles, and I see this, it pops up, Hammered in the Mountains, and I'm like, oh, that's probably a cool dude, Yeah, he's like drinking in the mountains a lot. And then after a little bit, I saw you post, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's the name of your business, Hammered in the Mountains.
Yeah, so I kind of got the name, when I first started 6 years ago, I was working a full-time job, but when I would get off work, I would come home, crack a few beers, and start hammering on silver, and that's kind of how it got its name. And then the cabin, I was living in a pretty primitive cabin up in the mountains, pretty primitive. But, so yeah, that's how I got it. The business got its name, drinking beer and hammering on silver.
Well, I got to say that, you go to your website, pretty awesome stuff. And then I saw a few days, a week ago or something, Aaron Snyder grabbed a couple of your posts and posted them up. I'm like, well, that's going to kind of blow her up. And then a few days later, I saw Don Trump Jr. shared one of your posts. So things gotten pretty crazy after that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm just getting emails and questions. It's hard to work. So I'm trying to work on Christmas orders right now. I'm trying to work through all these Christmas orders, and then I'm just getting multiple questions, emails, everything. So I kind of wish I had an assistant, but it wouldn't pay much.
What are you up to, Benji?
Yeah, it's about time for me to, after work, be out there in her shop.
I have put him to work before. There's things that he can learn and do, but he's just so busy too.
Yeah. So one of your fortes is elk ivory, doing elk ivory jewelry.
Yeah. So I started doing elk ivory stuff probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I started doing elk ivory stuff. And yeah, it's just blown up from there. And that's pretty much what I do now. I strictly I'm open to custom work, but I'm strictly just open to elk ivory. I got to kind of make the cutoff at some point, just because I'm getting so many ivories sent in. So, yeah.
Well, I just got a package in the mail. I got to say that quiet. I just got a package in the mail from you today, and I'm glad I ordered it when I did, because it sounds like you got really busy.
Yeah. A lot has sold out on my website since the shares.
Yeah. Cool. So go ahead.
We were on the phone talking to some of our friends or her friends back from Pennsylvania, and she's like, Aaron Snyder just put something on a story with my thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? I went and grabbed my phone, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
I saw it and I chuckled. I'm like, ooh, that's gonna generate some interest.
Yeah, I've had lots of people email me asking, when's this going to be back in stock? When is this going to be back in stock? And it's like, well, everything that I do is pretty much one of a kind, so when you buy something off my website, it's going to go straight to sold out. I don't have other stock of it or anything.
I see. Yeah. And even I would tell anybody listening, even if you're not in the market for jewelry, you ought to go over. What's the website?
hammeredinthemountains.com.
Yeah. Go over there and check it out. 'Cause it is, man, it's amazing. You have obvious talent and an artistic eye. That's some really cool stuff. So
thank you.
Yeah. Well, we got that stuff out of the way. I find those stories interesting, but I first really noticed, Autumn, you shot a tank of a black bear this year. And was that your first trad kill?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I started shooting. Well, he bought me Samick Sage this spring. And so I practiced all spring and summer with that. And then I hunted antelope with it. Those suckers are so fast.
They kind of have good eyes too.
Oh my gosh. I mean, there was multiple misses. It's like they're in the Matrix. I mean, you can see the arrow flying, and then they drop to the ground, or they do Matrix kind of stuff, like they're so fast.
So it didn't work out. It didn't work out with the antelope, I take it.
Yeah. And then,
it wasn't probably best thing to go after with a pretty light poundage bow that's not shooting very fast.
Oh yeah. So the one time I was sitting in the antelope blind, and it was over 100 degrees that day, and so when I first get in the blind, I always draw back, just a little test draw, and I'm sitting there, and this buck comes by. He was probably, I don't know, 25, maybe 30 yards. Probably shouldn't have been shooting that far, but I shot, and he had time to just turn and run before. And, he stopped and looked back, and I looked down at my bow, and the bottom limb was like twisted.
She didn't know what it was. She sends me a picture on her phone. She was like, what's going on here? And I take it was just maybe from sitting in that hot blind she was sitting it on the limb, and that low poundage limb that's real weak. It was twisted off. Her bow was about ready to come unstrung.
I would have never thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty scary. And we went home after that hunt, and he started doing some research on other bows, and
because we didn't really know if she was going to hunt this fall with a traditional bow, but she was shooting it so good and getting comfortable. It was like, well, we will. And then that pretty much let her down. She felt so ineffective. So we had ordered a bow that night, a Hoyt Satori for her.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
We needed a new wood stove. And he's like, okay, do you want a wood stove this winter, or do you want a new bow? And I was like, I can make it through one more winter with our crappy wood stove. So I got a new bow. I got the Hoyt Satori, and
I like your priorities.
Yeah. I think I'll survive this winter with this small wood stove, but
did you grow up hunting?
No.
So you grew up in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I moved out west probably around 7 years ago. I was applying for jobs all over the United States, from Florida to Alaska. It was just wherever I got a job, whether it be temporary, permanent, whatever it was, that's where I was going, and ended up in salmon.
What job brought you to salmon?
It was a fish and game job.
Oh, cool. Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't grow up hunting, but you met Benji and decided you might start hunting?
Well, I started hunting back in Pennsylvania, like 2 years
before you moved out here.
Oh, I got
shot
you.
my first buck. I started archery hunting. 2013, I guess, was when I started hunting. But
Nice.
yeah, I shot my first buck back in Pennsylvania in 2013 and moved out here the spring of 2014 and met him.
Yeah. Yeah. So that Hoyt Satori's treat you pretty good now?
Yeah, so we started bear hunting.
When she first got that, she was struggling with, because she had never shot a traditional bow much at all. And she was shooting 3 fingers under, trying to get the arrow closer to her eye and that. But she was having a hard time with her first cold shot, knowing, I mean, it was going to be in line, but it could have been a little high, a little low, something in there. And so we did a lot of reading in that. We came up with, she's shooting a fixed crawl now to get that arrow up a little closer. So her point on is, what is it, like? I think
20 yards is like my point on.
She kind of puts the arrow at the brisket line, like the belly line, if it's 10 yards or something. And then,
yeah.
And that helped. I mean, when she did that, her first shot, her cold shot was just always on after that. So.
Yeah. And that builds confidence, and that confidence, man, that means a lot.
Yep. Yeah. Cause she'd go out and shoot, and she could shoot great, but it was after that first shot, it might've just been a little higher low than that. So,
yeah. How many pounds you shooting?
42. And so we were worried. I was worried. I was like, this is not, I'm not some strong man. I can't shoot a bear with, a 42-pound bow. So at the taxidermy shop there, they had a bear carcass.
A guy didn't want the meat, or it was there at the shop, yeah.
So I went over to the taxidermy shop one night and was shooting this carcass. And I mean, I was getting pass-throughs.
Like,
yeah. So what was your arrow setup?
So I'm shooting these. I have one sitting here, the Black Eagle Instincts. It's a 600 spine. And then the broadheads, it's kind of everything we're against, but I knew that I'd be ruining a lot shooting at grouse and everything else. So they're just like cheapo China made
3-blade cut on contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got them off Amazon or something. 100 grains.
Yeah, but I mean, they work pretty good. I've blown a few up on some rocks shooting at grouse and stuff, but
yeah. So you guys run dogs?
Yep. We have hounds. We only have 2 right now. I have one and my brother has one.
And was that a spring bear you guys got?
This fall.
Oh, was it? Tell me about that bear. That thing, I just assumed it was a boar. That thing was a tank. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So we were sitting, we sat so many evenings, and we had so many bears come in. I mean, it was really fun just sitting there every evening, having the bears come in, watching them.
Sow with 2 cubs and.
Oh, so you're baiting. I thought you were running hounds. You're baiting.
Oh no. Yeah. We had a bait out.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep. We were baiting. So I was like probably 12 yards away from where the bears were, I mean, it's a pretty easy shot, but for your first one, it definitely makes your confidence go up.
So are you guys on the ground?
No.
Yeah.
We were both in a tree stand. Yeah.
Yeah. We had that bear on trail camera, and that was our like big boar on the bait that we were after. Like, it had been on there for a week. It showed up and it came in right before dark, and last shooting light, it walked into the bait, gave her a perfect shot. And I mean, I actually thought she shot a little low, but she just took the heart out and got a pass through on it.
Really?
Yeah. And then it went like probably 15 yards up the hill. And he's like, oh my God, shoot it again. So
it was just doing the slow walk.
Grabbed another arrow and just like leaned over into a really awkward position. And it was just like my instincts kicked in from then. I don't even remember like aiming or anything. And then that's when I double lunged her.
Yeah, just sunk it to the fletches.
At 30 yards?
Yeah, probably 25.
Probably 25,
okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
And it was walking too. And I mean, it was just a perfect shot.
And it just went down right then,
and that's something that, I've talked to other people about, and some of these shooting, well, I'll get myself in trouble, but some of these shooting coaches say, well, it shouldn't be muscle memory. You got to be thinking through the shot and stuff. And man, some of my best shots, like you say, it's muscle memory. You grip it and rip it. And, that's a hell of a shot. So at 42 pounds, you're going to pass through on a big, mature fall bear. That's impressive. That's impressive.
Yeah, I was impressed by it too. I mean, it was neat to see. Yeah.
Yeah, it
had a lot of fat on that bear. That bear was
pretty cool.
Now, if for anybody listening, this is going to be a photo of that bear will be the cover of this episode, but you've also been on the Instagram page a couple of times. I ran that as for the I Hunt Close Trad Kill 2020. I ran that as one of the covers for that. So that's a monster bear. That's cool. It's awesome.
Yeah, he said it was that the biggest sow you've ever had.
Yeah, there's just something weird about that bear because we've never, in all years of our shop, got a sow in that was that big. But it's crazy.
You said some other stuff going on with it too, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean I don't think it ever had cubs, and I would say it had male and female parts. I don't know when we skinned it. It's
the best bear for 2020. What's going on right now? I mean, she was like a he/she, so it's pretty normal these days. I think.
Yeah, why not? That's awesome. Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome for your first trad kill. Did you end up elk hunting with it with your bow?
No, I drew that muzzleloader tag.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a draw. Nice.
Yeah, that was a draw tag, but I plan on putting in for moose next year. We're going to see if the recurve, if I draw a moose tag, if I can put down a moose. So
how are you guys' moose population down there?
It's down a lot from what it used to be. It seems to be kind of holding up. The Lemhi is pretty much about the only spot we have a density of moose. We used to have them north of us through North Fork and all that, but there's not very many in there. The last few years, a few people have actually seen moose back in some of that country, which is good, but we'll get a number on them. But
yeah, the years that I was working in Chamberlain, the moose were fantastic, and I mean quality moose, and it was killing me. I put in for a few years, and they were giving out 2 tags. You could have handled 5 or 6 or 8 tags. The draw odds were incredibly good, but damn, I just couldn't draw.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The odds had to been.
Oh, they were stellar, man. There was 2 tags, and it was like 8 people putting in and 6 people putting in. You think? No. Oh no, they screwed. They made a mistake. The fishing game made a mistake in 2014 and accidentally drew my name. So it took like 20 years. They screwed up and drew my name. So,
well, I know you're feeling. I haven't put in that long, but I haven't drawn any of my special species. I've been doing it my whole life pretty much. So.
I will say that when I drew that tag, in part is because the moose population was way down. I drew it for North Idaho here, and so the applicants were way down. Everything was down. And I ended up killing a dink bull, but it was one of my best hunts ever. 2 weeks by myself. It was fantastic. And I was devastated. Once I killed the moose, I was like, man, I can only do this once in my life. It's a great hunt. Really had fun. So tell me your story, Benji. Like, how did you, of course, you grew up down that country. You grew up hunting. how'd you get into bow hunting? Tell me a little bit about you and your brother growing up.
Okay, yeah. My dad was a lifetime bow hunter ever since he was a young person. And so naturally we were hunting with him when we were younger, going on hunts. And he was really good. He would, looking back on it, he would tailor a lot of hunting experiences to us being there, even when we were little kids, 5, 6, 8 years old, sitting in tree stands on an elk wallow or somewhere where we would sit on the ground a lot of times down below the hill and watch him as he'd sit in a tree stand above a wallow or something.
Oh, really?
Shoot an elk. Yeah. And so we grew up, just bow hunting was part of what we did. And as far as the traditional side of it, I started hunting big game with the traditional bow when I was probably 15 or 16. But when I was younger, I would shoot. Growing up, we had recurves and all different kinds of bows that my brother and I would shoot. But my dad, he got into traditional bow hunting. He hunted with a compound a lot when he was younger. But with his taxidermy business, he ran into a guy who came out on a guided mountain lion hunt with Dave Williams, who used to be here. And this guy's name was Mike Judas. And he was a big time traditional guy from Iowa. Anyways, he shot, I think it was like in the top 10 or 5 mountain lions with his Blackwidow recurve that he had. And my dad had always wanted to get into shooting a traditional bow. So it just so worked out. This guy came in, Dave brought him into the shop, and he's getting a mountain lion mounted. Anyways, I think it was the next year he came out on a bear hunt. And my dad got to talking to him a lot about shooting a recurve and that. And he actually got into a motorcycle accident. And I think he switched to shooting left-handed, if I remember right. But anyways, he had several bows, and he ended up trading my dad some taxidermy work for my dad's first bow. It was a Blackwidow. And that thing was like, I want to say it was like 72 pounds or something.
Oh.
This guy.
So about what year are we talking?
Oh, well, I don't know. It had been 98 maybe, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Before 2000s. Yeah. And so, anyways, that's the bow my dad learned to shoot on. And going back on it, my brother and I, we always went bow hunting with him and that, but we knew that he was shooting a traditional bow. Now, just talking to him, listening to him and that. So it was a big deal, like when he was going to try and go shoot his first elk with this bow. And I remember it. He had this wallow that we used to sit on opening night. I don't know how many bulls he'd kill off this thing opening night. It was just one of those magical spots. But I remember sitting there on the ground with my brother when we heard the elk coming down the hill, and this bull, it was a raghorn, ran out into the wallow, and we watched my dad shoot it right there off the ground, sitting with my mom and my brother and I, and just make a perfect shot on this bull. He got a pass through with it, ran up the hill and fell over. I think, is that the bull? I think that bull actually, it was pretty neat. It had ran up the hill like 15, 20 yards from the wallow, and it fell to his knees, and it got its feet back under it and started running straight down the hill. And it was my brother and I and my mom, we were sitting there. This bull's running straight at us. And we're so into hunting. We're like, we don't really know what's going on. We kind of know what's going on. We're like, we're not going to blow this hunt. So we weren't going to get up and move a muscle. And I remember my mom grabbing my brother and just pulling him against the tree that we were sitting on. And that bull ran within like feet of us with his head tipped back and eyes rolled out of his head. And he only went down the hill just a little ways further and just fell over right there. But that was my dad's first trad kill. So like we were just super excited. We knew and we understood what it meant to him to get it done doing that, because he'd been practicing so much in that. And then
yeah,
I think that led into our desire for wanting to try and traditional archery hunt and that. And we didn't do it right away. We shot compounds with no sights, instinctive fingers. And we did that. You know, we were shooting 40 pounds. I think I was shooting 42 or 3 his first year. My brother was shooting 40. Some little 18, 16 arrows and cut on contact 3 blades. And we killed a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So you guys pretty successful when you were younger shooting that stuff?
Yeah, we were. I don't know. We both killed antelope and deer. And I think we ever killed, my brother shot an elk with his compound, and I did too. I shot a spike with my compound and shooting instinctive. And then, yeah, when I was 15 or 16, I had got a Thunderhorn bow.
Oh, Dwayne Jessup?
Yep, Dwayne Jessup over the hill in Hamilton. Our archery group that we were in, there was a guy that was shooting one of those. It was Mike Wallingford here in Salmon. And
is that the guy that is that the guy that I met?
Nope, that was a different guy there.
Okay.
That guy. Yeah, this Mike, he lives here, and we had an archery group, and it kind of towards the end of the group there, when it was called the River of No Return Archers, but it was pretty much just like 5 or 6 guys shooting traditional bows that were kind of carrying on what it was. That's about all that was left of it. But he had a Jessup, and I shot it, and I really liked it. And of course, like a kid, you're not going to do what your dad probably wants you to do. So I got a longbow instead of shooting a recurve or something like he was shooting.
Now, let's see. So what year would that have been with the Dwayne Jessup?
2005 is when I got my Black Widow. So it had to been like 2000.
I'm trying to think. I shot a Dwayne Jessup probably in the late 90s. And it was a kind of like a hybrid longbow.
Yep, that's what.
Yeah, that thing was a ripper. I mean, I shot that well. Had kind of a recurved style handle on it. I dang near made the switch. And that's the only longbow I'd ever shot. Man, that thing was sweet.
Yeah, and that's why I ended up getting that, is because that guy had shot that in our club, and I mean, it was a sweet shooting bow. And I liked it. It was light and it was fast. I mean, it pretty much almost performed as good as my Black Widow that I have now. But yeah. Your brother still shoot trad? Yep, he is. He shoots a Black Widow PMA, I think, is what he's got. But he started shooting. He's 3 years younger than me, so probably about a couple 3 years after I started shooting it, he started shooting his bow. So, and he's still shooting it. I haven't killed as much stuff just recently in the last few years, but I think that's just kind of as a hunter maturing a little bit. It's not all so much about needing to fill my tag every year. And the hunting in Idaho maybe is not as good as it used to be right around here in Salmon area as much as I remember. But one of the trips that I did early on, actually, before I was married, I was living in Salmon. My wife was my girlfriend at the time, and we went up to Persimmon and shot snowshoes. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was kind of morbid. I mean, holy Moses, that got ugly. But I always wanted to go back. We did it with 22s. I always wanted to go back and take the Stickbow up there. That would be a blast.
Yeah, we have done that a few times.
Have you?
Yeah, we have with our bows. That's growing up around here. That's what you do pretty much on New Year's or a boring winter day. You get the 22s and go up the Persimmon and hunt jackrabbits and that. But I want her to get into that because it's like being a traditional archer. It's hard to find, especially in Idaho, just small game, something you can shoot or hunt. But she's not into really shooting rabbits. So
he told me I will never be a good traditional archer because I will not shoot gophers.
Well,
I'm kind of with him there.
They're so cute. If I can't use their fur or eat their meat, I don't really want to shoot it. And he says, well, you can use their fur.
Yeah, they're actually.
I need 100 of them.
I like shooting. I like shooting at gophers. I don't like hitting them because they are a nasty little thing to get off the arrow.
You hope for not a pass through or anything near your fletches with that.
Yeah, one time he shot this gopher one time, and I mean it went straight through its eye sockets, out the other side and then stuck in the dirt. So this gopher, he was so excited. He lifts his arrow up and it's hanging on his arrow. Look at this, Autumn, look at this gopher. And I was just like, that's terrible. And then like a year later, I went with them, shooting my compound at the time. I had told him that I was missing on purpose all these gophers.
Yeah, she couldn't hit any of them. I kept trying to get her one. We know why now.
Now there was some kind of cottontail. What is it, like a pygmy cottontail or something up there?
Yeah, there's cottontail, and then there are these pygmy rabbits that are, you can't hunt them. They're endangered, I think.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They're very similar looking to a cottontail, but a little smaller and darker.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go back and take my son and go down there and hang out down at Simroy. It's just a fun place to be. I used to antelope hunt down there, and it's not that good. The antelope hunting's not that good, but it's just a blast to go. You know, I don't get sagebrush up here, so
yeah. If you get a lot of snow, the rabbits will come down and they'll really get thick into some of those sage pockets, and it can be really good. It'd be good.
Well, that's Dennis Pardee and I. We were up there, and like I said, my wife was my girlfriend at the time, and Dennis and I would be either side of those draws, those gullies, and my wife would walk through the bottom and kick them up. And she was a hell of a bird dog, and I knew then I had to put a ring on her finger.
Well, there you go.
So what's your setup now? What are you shooting now?
I just guess that's my dad, means he started off with the 70-pound bow. He dropped down in weight a few years later. After that, he got a bow with some lower poundage limbs. But when they bought my bow for my graduation present, it's a 62-pound PMA. I have a 29-inch draw.
That's pretty good stroke.
It is, yeah. And I mean, I shoot it. I'm probably overbowed, that's for sure, especially everything you hear now and that. But we always shot gold tip XT Hunter shafts, and we would bare shaft tune them, and kind of off of the Blackwidow manual and some of those Ken Beck videos, and that's what my dad did. And, just this last year, 2 years, I switched to some of the Easton injection, the micro diameter arrows, just trying to, get as much performance as you can. And so that's what I'm shooting. I don't shoot a super heavy arrow. It's actually pretty fast. My bow's shooting right at 200, 202.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rapid.
And then my bow's been 2005. It says a lot about the Blackwidow limbs, I guess. It's holding up. And
yeah, this wasn't made to be a Blackwidow commercial. You remember that video of, gosh, somebody, was it Ken Beck, that would step on the limb and bend it all the way backwards?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Ken Beck's videos on tuning arrows?
Yeah.
Those were cutting edge. That was good. That's good information today.
Well, yeah. And that's what my dad was always about tuning his bow and that, but that guy from Iowa that he had got his bow from, he got him on that, as far as setting up his recurve and tuning it and that. So that's what he bare shaft tune, and then off of those videos of Ken Beck's and that.
So what's your favorite animal to hunt?
I like mule deer. I'm a mule deer fan.
Yeah. Is there any, I don't want to ask your secrets. Do you ever get out, and is there an early hunt that you're doing in August? I mean, that's kind of one thing that Idaho lacks, is that early. Yeah.
We have our archery season, and I've shot a couple nice bucks with my bow. But yeah, I guess I should maybe mention that there was a period in there where my brother and I both had got compounds. We went and bought brand new Hoyts and set them all up, and we hunted for 2 seasons with those compounds. And I killed 2 really nice mule deer bucks with kind of like a high country 1st of September hunt with that bow and with those Hoyts. But we just kind of, I didn't say that. I mean, I was really effective. I think we both killed antelope, elk, and deer with our compounds those 2 years. But it was just, I killed one of the biggest bucks that I had seen, but it wasn't the same as shooting my traditional bow. And I didn't like having to carry around a rangefinder. I know a lot of guys carry rangefinders with traditional bows, but didn't like having to range it and, clipping the release on and all that. It just kind of took away from the whole hunting experience in my mind. So that's what I went back to shooting a recurve. My brother and I both did, and we have been since then. So.
Yeah. After I got into some good mule deer this year, the best I ever had. And I ended up putting a stock on it. Like, I'm not a mule deer guy, but it was just an opportunity. I spent an hour, 50, I got as close as 40, to 4 mature bucks. I mean, I won't say like they were monsters, but they were mature bucks. And the adrenaline, when it was all done, I was a plate of soup. I almost got a shot at them. And when they ran off, I didn't realize what my body was doing at the time, but man, that adrenaline dump when it was over, I was just like, I'm going to lay here for a while. It was just fantastic. So I guess what I'm saying is I wish Idaho had some like August 15th opportunities, but I assume there's a few, but not many.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you on that. I do a lot of rifle hunting mule deer just because the season seems to be conducive to that. I grew up doing it and that, but I did get into trying to, in September, find bucks and do some high country type hunting in that. And it is awesome. I actually missed a really nice buck this year with my recurve.
Oh,
and it just, it was like you said, it would have been like the hunt of a lifetime, but
yeah,
almost just a memory. So
when I was done, like that night, it's amazing where you get cell service. We're pretty much in the middle of nowhere, and I messaged Aaron. I'm like, holy crap! Now I know why you do this mule deer thing. I feel like a junkie now. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what she doesn't. She doesn't really like mule deer, but I
don't
love mule deer.
Well, I don't like the meat. I don't really like mule deer meat. I think every mule deer I've ever had has not tasted that good.
Yeah.
Well, no. I would rather hunt whitetails. And I think it comes from just growing up in Pennsylvania, the whitetails. So that's just, and I think they're a prettier animal than mule deer.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Huh.
Really, the way Idaho's seasons and stuff are, I think during the general any weapon season, the rifle hunt, that's probably your best time to archery hunt a mule deer the way it is around here. Because sometimes they move out of that where they're living all summer. Because some of those things, they get to where they're living. It's almost damn near impossible to kill them when they're in their spot if they want to stake it out. But you get them to move a little bit, migrate down, drop down, whatever, you get some snow. Then they end up in a place where you can stalk them in that. And I've often thought, I think that's probably the best time if you really wanted to shoot a buck with your bow, it's probably the best time.
And you're talking October?
Yeah.
Mid-October, yeah. Going back to the mule deer thing, I was, I grew up on the East Coast, and I was, my introduction to mule deer was the same way. Like, oh my gosh, them things stink. And I remember cooking some mule deer burger one time for spaghetti or something in the house, and my buddy walked in. He's like, "Holy crap! What's that stinking?" But we had killed 2 mule deer the same day on the same ridge. They hung side by side, and they were young bucks. They were forked horns. When we cut them up, mine was unbelievable. Just melt in your mouth. Awesome. And my buddies, you couldn't even be in the house when that thing was, you were cooking them. So I get what you're saying. Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what the rhyme or reason to why some of them have that extra flavor and some don't, but it doesn't matter whether it's archery season, rifle season, late season, big bucks, little bucks. You just kind of really never know, it seems like.
Yeah, and when they're bad, oh my gosh, they're bad.
Yeah, you make jerky out of those.
Yeah, you give it to the neighbors. How'd you do on elk this year?
Not real good. Yeah, I did some archery. I kind of ended up focusing a lot of my effort towards those deer that I found, and that's when I ended up But the reason why I found the deer and focused my effort towards them is because I was having a very hard time finding any elk.
Amazing this year. It was amazing, the lack of elk. And I think I don't know if we talked about it, but here we are like the fourth day and we can't find elk. There hadn't been a bad winter, in the years past, we were getting in elk. And I mean, there should have been elk there.
Yeah, they didn't die off. Yeah.
No. So, and I knew the wolf pressure, I knew there was some wolf pressure, but nothing was making sense. Dan, he went down to Selway, same thing. They packed in, weigh in with horses, into the high country, no elk. They pack all the way down to the bottom and kill a 6-point bull in the river. I mean, and then after talking to one of the outfitters over there, it was kind of weird. He's like, yeah, all the elk were in the bottoms. Like it was just so strange because it wasn't like it was a super hot summer until September.
Very end. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was in that country in July and there was still snowdrifts in areas in July up there. So it had been a good spring, been a good summer. Yeah, it was just bizarre. It's just strange.
Our elk, they never seem to cease to amaze me what they're doing nowadays. Like you said, I don't really know what's changing it, but you will see them not where they were supposed to be, you don't know where an elk's supposed to be, but live here your whole life and there's always elk here, and then there's just not, and they're somewhere weird, like you said, down.
Yeah, I think they've adapted to the wolves at some level. The numbers aren't, I don't know that the numbers will ever be what they used to be. And that's kind of strange as we were saying that. Here, the elk have come down to the low country, to the farm country, and there's elk now that live their whole life down in the fields. And it was never like that. And actually, I was talking to a guy about 5 years ago. He grew up in Knoxon, Montana. And I said, and he's like third generation. I mean, he's got deep roots in this country, and actually more than that, it's like fourth generation. But anyways, I said, hey man, do you ever remember seeing a calf elk killed on Highway 200? And he's like, no, I haven't. So just to putting it into perspective, now the elk are actually calving down in the bottoms. There are elk that actually live their whole life down in the bottoms, and it is directly from the wolves. But in a deal like in that country, in that big country, I don't think it's the same. But what drives them down, and they weren't down there the last 5 years.
No,
it's just strange.
And it took me a while, and I ended up finding some elk, and it was just a mob of elk, and one large herd and a lot of bulls kind of around, which it was strange. That's kind of becoming more common, it seems like, instead of just having a bull have a few cows, a small herd up in each drainage or something. It's like they kind of gather in this big group is what.
Maybe there's safety in numbers.
Yeah, I think it is something to do with that.
We found what I missed a raghorn. And we did find another bull with about a dozen cows. There was a few, but it was just it was mind boggling. It was like, because they had been up in that high country. They had fed all that fireweed. Everywhere we went, the fireweed was nipped off. You had you had tracks. But yeah, it was just crazy year.
Yeah, I had one raghorn bull that I thought I was going to kill him. Everything was working perfect. He was coming down the hill. He was coming. I seen him heading towards a wallow, a seep. And so I just flipped my shoes off, worked my way down the hill. Wind was perfect. And I was just going to intercept him at the water hole. And I got down there just before him and was pretty much putting tension on the string. And he was about ready to walk out from behind a tree. And I seen him stop and put his head in the air, caught my wind, whirled and ran off. And I was counting my chickens before they hatched.
I always do that. Do that. I'm going to notch my tag right now because I am awesome. This bull is coming in.
Yep. I'll put the quarters in that tree over there. And, and he ran off. But I wasn't too devastated, but it would have been nice to get him. It was towards the end of the season, and I would have liked to have shot one with my bow. But
yeah. Yeah. What's your go-to calling techniques?
I grew up, my dad, we pretty much would just bugle and chase them, and that's what we did. But I don't know. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of cow calling. I still like bugling. I like, if you have somebody you're hunting with, if you can, someone bugle and someone get around ahead of them, that's probably your best bet.
You know, that's the way I was taught, and I was taught down in that country, and you just covered ground and you bugled and you got one, you know, unless one was answering that was fired up, you just kept walking and just covering ground. But I'll tell you what, if you didn't listen to that episode with Chris Rowe that I did this year, gosh, I don't remember the title to it, but it would have been in mid-August or something, on elk calling. I'll tell you, he opened my eyes to cow calling. I've always, you know, we had the Skiri when Skiri came out, we'd have them things and blow on them. But I don't know, maybe I'm dense, but the way he put it into words, the light bulb went off, and my hunting partner, Jake really got after using like 3 different calls. The assembly call, the lost cow, and one other call. And we actually heard elk do it this year, and we actually called bulls in, or we called bulls in using those calls. You got to go back and listen to it, because I'll tell you, yeah, the light bulb went off, because I was the same as you. And actually, Chris was kind of chastising me, because I'm like, he's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, what are you going to do that opening morning? I'm like, I'm going to walk down the ridge and I'm going to blow my bugle. And he's just like hammering me like, you're an idiot.
That's probably why I've turned more towards sitting on ambush sites, is because maybe the lack of effectiveness of what's been going on around here with the bugling and that.
Yeah. Well, I had a great year last year. The last few years have been really good. This year was just kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have nearly as much come in the taxidermy shop, and everyone was saying this year was weird. I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, you hear people in Colorado was the same way. You know, I talked to a lot of people in Colorado. So it's 2020 again. I mean, you're shooting a he-she bear.
That's what it is. Oh, and then my elk that I just shot with the muzzleloader.
Yeah.
No ivories. None.
What?
I've seen it on one side have one knocked out or something. This thing it
was the size of a pinhead.
Yeah, like there's 2 teeth there, but they are tiny. Like, you know, on a whitetail, occasionally you'll see like those little tiny things. That's like what this thing had. I was like, this is pretty ironic. A silversmith that works with ivory.
You know what? I was going to say, you should go to Fish and Game and ask for at least a half your money back on the tag, or a no tag next year. Like,
hey, can I get another tag maybe?
Yeah. No, that's legit.
Yeah. No, it was weird. 2020. It's been a year.
You shooting a Great Plains, right?
Yeah, the Lyman Great Plains.
Yeah. 54.
54 caliber. Yep.
Yeah, I got that gun. I don't ever shoot it, but I got that gun. It's an awesome gun.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. I mean,
yeah, she got a whitetail, a badger, and her elk with that thing.
And then I drew the muzzleloader antelope tag last year and got an antelope with it.
Nice.
It's a sweet gun.
Did you eat the badger?
No.
All right, just asking.
She's had a lot of people ask her that. It was like, I think Meat Eater had some episode.
I did. I researched it, and I was like, oh, the Meat Eater ate this, and I was like, I'm not eating this. I'll use the fur. Like I said, if I will not shoot an animal unless I can use the fur or eat the meat. And with this, I can use the fur.
Oh, that's legit. I'm just roughing you up. That's legit. Did you see when Meat Eater, when those guys tried to cook a coyote?
Oh
yeah.
God.
Oh,
that's
God.
like the worst possible way to attempt to cook.
Did he do it with hair on?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. That was making me sick just watching.
No, thanks. I'll just use our coyote hides for clothing, vests, and that. I'm not eating a coyote.
There you go.
Badger.
You do any trapping, Benji?
Not recently. We used to. Grew up trapping. My brother probably trapped more than me. He really got into it there for a few years and did a lot of trapping.
Trapping a lot of beavers and stuff, wasn't he?
Yeah, everything. We never really got into the bobcat trapping that a lot of people do, but we had hounds, so we liked running them.
Oh, there you go.
We would rather catch them with the dogs than in a trap. So
yeah, you guys still have dogs?
Yep, we have two. I have a plot hound. My brother has a blue tick.
I guess it's my turn this winter for if we catch a big tom.
She's around, yeah.
Yeah, and it's within range.
Well, you can always climb the tree to get closer.
Yeah.
You guys have a pretty good healthy cat population right now down there?
Yeah, we do. I think our cat population's probably, I wouldn't say we have more than we've ever had. I'd say we just have a good population. I think the biggest hit to them was actually when the bobcat prices were really high. They were getting incidentally snared a lot, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Is what took probably the most out of here. The hound hunting, we have such rugged country and we have so many wolves around that you don't really kill a whole lot of cats with dogs around here anyways in some of this country. A lot of people don't even want to run in that country. So we do get a lot of cats. The population is pretty good. But
yeah. Who the heck was I talking to? I guess I was talking to David Hoff down in Colorado. But I was telling him how skilled houndsmen in Idaho have had to get to really know where the packs of wolves are operating. You're not just turning out on the first freaking track you see, because you got to know where those wolves are and, really trying to shorten up that track.
Oh yeah. It's been kind of neat in the aspect of it's changed how we've done it a lot, but we walk out the tracks a lot. So my brother and I, one of us is going to go way ahead, just following the track. Other person's got the dogs and is just trying to keep them off the scent and just wait until we jump the thing.
Oh.
But in turn, we've ended up we're seeing almost a lot of the mountain lions sometimes before we even turn the dogs loose. So get on the radio or call back and be like, hey, I see him, turn the dogs loose. Or I just jumped him out of these rocks. And I actually shot a big cat last year. And I think we had caught that cat maybe 3 years before that. And I was actually walking it out and I had that cat in a patch of rocks and I had my longbow with me. And this thing came walking, it seen my brother. He was down in the bottom with the dogs. So it seen him and it came walking right towards me. And I just sat still and that thing walked 15 yards beside me in the mahogany and rocks. And I didn't shoot it with my longbow on the ground because I wanted the dogs to catch it. Oh my dumbest thing I've ever done. I kicked myself for it. Anyways, I finally get a hold of my brother. He gets the dogs on it. It runs down and we tree the cat. And I ended up not shooting it anyway, because once it's in the tree, I guess we were looking at it like, oh, it's not that big. But to shoot it on the ground like that, walking out the track, I should have done it.
Yeah.
But the good thing is I ended up killing that cat this last year. And it was actually just made Boone and Crockett. So I was pretty pumped that maybe I didn't shoot him 3 years earlier.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but salmon, they have a very good genetic line of big cats, big-headed cats.
Yeah, we do. The Salmon River country drainage probably has as many as anywhere entries in Boone and Crockett, I would say. And I mean, even some of the top ones there at the upper end of them have came out of here.
When I was working in the Frank Church, so we're talking pre-wolf, there were so many cats back there because the prey population was, really high and nobody could get in there and nobody went in there and hunted. Once winter, hits, nobody's flying in that country. In 1 year, I would go in and there was a year that I went in mid-April. Yeah, probably about April 15th and came out the second week in November. And I saw 7 lions, just seeing them. They were I have a photo. So I rode up, I had a guide school student riding in front of me, had a couple of pack animals, and then I was riding, in the rear, and we're going down creek and I look off the edge and here in the rocks, there's this, he was big, it's in my mind's eye, he was big, but he's laying there 40 yards off the trail, like sleeping, just his head's on his paws, and he's watching the horses go by. He picks his head up. I got off my horse on the offside, slipped under, grabbed my camera, and took a picture of this lion sleeping 40 yards off the trail. Got back on my horse and rode off, and he just laid there. But they were absolutely everywhere back then.
Huh. Yeah, that's crazy. I do remember that Dave Williams, the old outfitter from here. He would fly in and do a few hunts at one of those airstrips on the Middle Fork, and that's what they didn't have a hard time catching cats back then.
No, not at all. Now is Dave
now?
What's that?
I know some people that go back. I know some people that go back there now, some outfitters and that, and it's hard to find a cat back there actually in some of that Middle Fork country, just because the game populations are so low, and the wolves and that. Yeah, there.
Gus guides back in there still, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's one of them that goes back there. Yeah. Now.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's got some pretty good stories.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Now is Dave the one that was killed last year?
Yeah, in that freak accident.
Yep.
Up there. Yeah.
Yeah, he was trapping, wasn't he?
Yep. I guess when it's your time, it's your time. Yeah, we had some crazy winds around here. I was out wolf hunting. I actually missed a wolf probably during the same storm that blew the top of that tree off and ended up hitting him.
Yeah.
It was just crazy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was crazy because I've heard his name. I think I met him a time or two, but he was kind of a legend down there, wasn't he?
Oh yeah. Trapping, and his hound hunting is really what we knew him for at our shop. I mean, the amount of mountain lions that we mounted in our shop just from clients of his was unreal. And I mean, he was effective. I mean, he had his 6-8 hunts, and he would usually shoot 6-8 big mature cats. And if you wanted to book a lion hunt, you wanted to go with Dave back then. So.
Well, how old was he when he was killed?
I don't know. What is he? Maybe 60s, early 60s?
Late 60s.
Yeah. I always guess him younger than that because he was still out running full trap lines and snowshoeing and doing stuff. But.
Yeah. I thought he was like early 70s. Yeah. I thought he was early 70s, and he's still running a trap line. I mean, it's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Gosh, what was I going to say? You're talking windstorm. Oh, yeah. I mention often on this podcast, and so my hunting buddy, Jake, he's a ranger on the Cascade district. He spent his lifetime working in the woods, and he's very adept in the woods, and he is so paranoid. And I say this initially, that he's paranoid about trees falling, but he has keyed me in that you talk about dangerous. Just no wind in these burns. That one year, like 13 trees. You can't even you got to look around to take a nap. Them trees just tip over and like Dave and just, kill you.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you talk about taking a nap? There was a outfitter here in Salmon. I think it was an archery elk hunt. And they were taking a nap in the middle of the afternoon, and a tree fell over and killed one of their.
Oh, you're kidding me. This year?
No, it was probably 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I've been cued into it more just because we've had some incidents where it was dangerous and scary, and where we were camped and had trees falling all over. And we definitely look around more now when we camp than we used to.
Yeah. Actually, those mule deer I was telling you I was stalking, when I first started that stalk, there was a little 3-point. So there was the 4 mature bucks, and then beyond them, there was a 3-point. And he was 150 yards away. I was just starting the stalk, and a tree fell behind me, and it scared me. I heard it coming down, so I had to turn. And when I turned and looked and saw it wasn't coming my way, I looked back. Well, that deer was looking towards the tree and saw me. Fortunately, he didn't take the rest of them with him, but it was like, well, I kind of got to look. Got to kind of break protocol here.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I think they're used to that half the time. I've glassed deer, heard trees fall over, and they don't even turn their head.
Oh, they got to be. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So what else you guys got going on? Anything else you want to add?
Did you want to talk about your llamas?
Oh yeah, we have a pretty busy life, but we've got my brother. We recently just got 5 pack goats too this last year. This spring.
Let's talk about pack goats.
Yeah, so we have 5 kids. And
way to go there, stud.
Oh yeah,
and
5 kids that live outside. So
yeah, they're
pretty nice.
Yeah, they're over at my brother's house. I have a pack donkey here. I have a donkey that we pack with at my house. And then my parents, we also have llamas too. So between all those, they'll keep you busy trying to keep them in shape.
That's like the bad news bears of pack strings. You got goats, llamas, and mule and a donkey.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've showed up at a trailhead before and had some horse guys sitting there, can I take a picture of that? Or making fun of you. And I was like, you guys been here for what, 10 days? And I don't see any buck here. Like, why don't you maybe take a look at what we bring out of here in 3 days or something? But it's like, we'll be laughing then, but it's effective for what we do. I mean, we have, kind of a mismatched string, but we pretty much have every angle covered that you need to have when you're out there in the mountains.
So now you just got the goats.
Yeah, so they'll take a few years before we can put much weight on them. Right now, they're just kind of like hiking companions or pack your lunch or something.
That's fascinating to me in the aspect of, I was talking to a buddy that had worked with goats a little bit, and he said it's almost like cheating. He said these things are running around with me while I'm hunting, and it's like puts everything at ease. When I run into deer, they're just looking at the goats like, oh, hey, what's up? And it's yeah.
I haven't done a ton of it just because we got them this year, but I've already had several instances where you can tell that it'll be neat. I'm sure they're going to blow stocks and have just as many things, but it's going to be neat what they add probably to the whole hunting.
Now I'm more interested in llamas. I had llamas for a few years and I really would like to get llamas again. I really dig the llamas. Now, are you concerned a little bit about the way that the regulations on the forest are going to go with the goats?
Yeah, that is a concern that we have. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then all our goats are tested. We've had them tested and tried to do everything, got them from herds that certified people, that we bought them from and that. But I definitely understand that. And it is concerning to think about that in the future, but I guess if that day comes, then they'll be pasture pets. But
how many llamas you got?
We have 6 now.
Do you really?
No, we have 4 that are like our good A-team go. We got 2 new ones. One's a little wild still, but I think they're going to end up being good llamas too. So,
yeah, my fear, having packed for that many years in the Frank Church, and been around horses, and llamas were like the kryptonite. And I got a really good story about running into llamas. So we're coming up the river. We're probably 10 miles from Corn Creek. So we got a ways to go yet. And we're running, you weren't supposed to run loose, but we're running loose, probably 25, 30 head. Had a guy riding in the front, and me and Jake were riding in the back, keeping everybody going. And, of course, the horses and mules start smelling these llamas. And, it's ugly. You know how narrow that country is. And if you go off the low sides, pretty good chance that's the last ride you're going to take. And so it was super stressful the whole way. Those, we were afraid that those 20 head are going to turn and come at us. And, it's going to get, well, by the time we get to, we would pick them up so we would road them 7 miles up the road, and that's where we would pick them up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, at that point, once they hit, now they know the deal. It's a full out sprint, and you're just you're going for broke. Well, once we come off that trail, the llama dude had brought his llamas over, like, I don't know, like over to his rig, and all the horses and mules go blitzing down the road. And I come up and I had one small mule. I forget that. Anyways, I had one small mule breaks off and she goes after those llamas, and she gets in the middle of them and starts throwing hinds. I mean, she's hammering these llamas. Shit's going everywhere. The guy's hollering. I jump off my horse. I'm kicking the mule in the guts, like, get out of here. Finally, she takes off. I got 1 foot in the stirrup, and I go like a mile and a half with one foot in the stirrup. Yeah, it was pretty Western, but times.
Crazy. I mean, I guess those mules have that. That's kind of like our donkey. They have that instinct where sometimes they'll stomp something if they don't like it or they're predators. So I guess I've never heard anything quite like that. That's crazy.
Oh, when moose would get into the corral to get to the salt, we might have 40 head in the corral, and everybody would pile into the corner, and there would be one mule would come out and challenge that moose and run that moose off. Yeah, there's something ornery about mules.
Yeah, I know our donkey is about taking out every dog I've owned or had around it.
Oh, yeah.
If it turns its back, yeah. But they get smart to it quick. They just got to survive the first attempt, and then they know.
So anyways, that's what I was really concerned about when I had llamas. I'm probably over that now. I mean, you can make it work. I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
No, it's kind of and most of the stuff, the people we run into, there's a lot of llamas out there now.
Yeah.
So if you have horses and you're on any of these trail systems, you're probably, if you do it long enough, you're going to run into llamas nowadays. Yeah. It's becoming popular again, but we definitely worry about that. We're cautious of that. If we know there's horses coming, we'll try to wait in the saddle or something. But are definitely times where you can end up. This summer we went to a high mountain lake and.
Oh yeah, the two fish and game officers were up there with their horses, and I mean, as soon as those horses, we came over the ridge down to this lake, and as soon as those horses, I mean, they weren't even close. As soon as they saw those llamas, they were clean up in the cliffs. I mean, they were hobbled, but it was not safe where they were.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
It's scary, but.
When I had llamas, I used to have people call me and ask if they could bring their horses over.
Yep. We've had that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's cool. I mean, that's awesome. I came home. I came home one day and come up my driveway and it looked like somebody took a D8 cat and spun it in the road in my driveway. I'm like, what the hell? I get out and it's horse tracks. Somebody had led their horses up the driveway to get, man, that looked like a rodeo.
Yeah. They don't, yeah, and then when we were coming out of that high mountain lake, a pack string was coming in. Well, how many horses was in that string?
15 or so, but it was an outfitter. They were good.
Yeah. I mean, they were spooked a little bit, but they didn't run. I mean, those horses were pretty broke. I mean, they knew what was going on.
Well, if I'm down in that country now and I see the bad news bears of pack strings off in the distance, I know who it's going to be.
Yeah.
That'll be us.
All right. Well, hey, I really enjoyed this. It was great talking to you guys. Benji, where can people go? You have a website for your taxidermies that somebody cannot get animals in, but they can look at your work?
Yeah, we have a site right now. We're working on a new site, but we have a lot of new photos for it, but we're so busy right now. The last thing we want to do is try and
it hasn't been updated since 1988.
No way. Seriously?
No. I'm just kidding.
It's like, I don't think we had internet then.
Yeah.
They're pretty slow on updating their website.
Yeah. But it's Lifelike Taxidermy. And I think is it CarmenID.com. So.
Lifelike Taxidermy, Carmen ID?
Yep.
.com. Yeah.
.com.
You can just
Google
Google that.
it'll pop up. But we hopefully here in the future that we'll revamp our business structured a little bit. We won't be so far behind and maybe specialize more in some life size, the cats and stuff like that, sheep. And at some point you just kind of, if we don't want to expand and it's just my brother, my dad and I, so you can only do so much.
Yep.
Kinda...
That's a cool plan. Either Autumn can quit doing silver or and work for you, or you can quit that and work for her.
Yeah, there's options.
I have worked. I've sewn up some animals in my day and done some stuff in the sanded forms. That's so fun. But yeah, I've done a little bit of that, but it's not my thing, you know?
Well, go to and what's your website, Autumn, again?
hammeredinthemountains.com.
Yeah, go to that website and you can see what her thing is, because I think you do an awesome job there. That is cool stuff.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I haven't drawn the names, so it'll be really awkward if this episode drops the same time you guys end up in the I Hunt Close Tradkill 2020 finalists. So that
you got like a whole bag of them that you pull them out, or what?
Well, there's too many of them actually. That's how we did it before. But we're gonna
old school, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do a random number generator. I think we're gonna do it Monday night, and I think we're gonna do it live on Facebook.
We don't have Facebook.
I don't blame you.
My brother does, so.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
We'll do it live on Facebook, and we're going to do a random number generator. And then once that number comes up, I'll just run through the emails, 1 through whatever, 300 or whatever we got. And yeah, I think,
Awesome.
yeah, we're going to pick 8. We're going to pick 8, and then we're going to put them on the website, and people are going to vote on them. So.
Oh yeah, man! Every picture I saw was just awesome from this year.
My gosh, there's some photos
awesome.
you're like, yeah, if that gets in the finals, it's hands down. God, I got a couple of kids, like a 10-year-old kid or a 13-year-old kid. You're like, that kid's gonna win.
Sure.
But,
for sure. Yeah, I saw your post the other day about is there going to be some separate youth?
Yeah, actually, I just talked to Terry over at the Footed Shaft. And he jumped in, Drew over at Selway. So what we're going to do is the kids, if they don't get drawn in the first round, we're going to take the kids and put them separate. And there's not a bunch of them, but Drew's going to put up a quiver, and Terry's going to make sure that all the kids get T-shirts from the Footed Shaft. And we'll have a separate page with those kids to get voted on. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So, yeah, I mean, to have these companies step up and help us out with this has been really cool. So,
it's just crazy to see the popularity of traditional bow hunting like it is now.
We hope that someday there is a traditional season.
That has been talked about, and I'll just throw this out, Benji. What do you think about unit being a traditional?
That'd be cool.
They've proposed it, the guys at the archery club, and that when we had it back here, we went to meetings and talked about that, but never really went anywhere. But
yeah,
talked about it.
Yeah. Well, it's 2020. We should have pushed harder. Who knows what would happen?
Yeah.
Hey, thank you guys. I love talking to you. Maybe when I'm down there, we'll run into each other and we can have a beer and shoot the breeze.
Yeah, we're in the shop if it's during the hours. If not,
oh heck yeah! Actually, I'm going down in a couple weeks. So yeah, if it's during shop hours, I'll swing in.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Good luck on your.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah. I don't have a deer tag. My buddy's got a deer tag, but we got elk tags. You still got an elk tag, right?
Yeah, I do. I was debating whether to go out on Saturday, but we'll see.
Well. I'll tell you where the camp is. You can more than welcome swing in and hang out with us.
Okay, cool. That would be sweet.
All right. Hey, thanks for your time.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, have a good one.
Take care.